Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to be building the new Knight of Gold AT. If you've seen my other videos, you probably know I've built the first Volks plastic Knight of Gold. They came out last winter. This one is pretty much the same kit, but with a couple of new sprues for the head, skirt armor, and back mount unit. As you can see, the manual and box art has a more subdued look to it for the cover, but once you're inside it has the same vibrant images as the old version, this time with an image of the Fatima Atropos, who is the co-pilot of this version. Even though it's still a gold machine, it has a different paint callouts than the first one, which is good since they'll both sit on the shelf together, because they should look a little bit different. Here is the new head unit. Everything else is pretty much the same parts. The skirts are different. And this back unit is different. But other than that, like I mentioned, it's the same parts as the first kit, just molded in a slightly different color. So if you see my other build video, this will be almost like a rerun, but instead of splitting it into 4 videos, this is going to be one build video and one paint video. Here's another view of the back unit. And some nice color photos in the manual. Very helpful for a guide. And we've got the same decal sheet. So let's get started. This is just a close look at the detail. The other new sprue. There are some parts in the head unit that need to be a specific direction, so just make sure you follow the instructions for those. So are you a true modeler if you don't spill your glue? Probably not. But luckily, the Mr. Hobby cements have a smaller opening, so not as much spilled as it would have if I were using Tamiya. I like to start with the slow drying cement for larger parts. Here I want to point out this piece is not on the regular sprues, even though it has the same number or letter C, but it has its own little tiny sprue. Easy to get a little confused at first. So when I built the first Knight of Gold, I realized there's an inner cockpit and a cockpit cover. When you actually put the cockpit cover on, the inner part is not even going to be visible at all. So whether or not you paint it is up to you. I probably will in my case, just because. So these are the first big seams that I'm going to have to fill. And it's kind of in an awkward position, but with the right tools, you can kind of get to it. So back to those seams, I'm using my trusty light curing putty from Tamiya. I use my bike light, but you can use a lamp or just the sun if you want to stick it in the window or something. These are directional parts. They're little polycaps that go in the hip armor, and it's for the mounts for the sword holder. I don't know what you call it, not the scabbard, but it's what the scabbard goes into. You'll see later. But it has a very specific direction. When I built the first one, I almost put it in backwards without realizing. This is the mount for the nut for the waist section, the hips, and it has to go in a specific direction. And it's easiest to get the nut in when it's on the end of the screw. You just kind of push it in at an angle, like this. doesn't damage the plastic as much. I also got this Mr. Cement SPB, the SP being a quicker setting cement. But this has a black dye, which is helpful for seeing where you've put cement already, in case you missed any spots. And I also used Mr. Cement S, which is probably the equivalent of Tamiya Extra Thin. So these parts need to be cut. These are leg pieces that are directional, and you can tell the direction by a little line that's on the part. My video is moving a little quickly here, but it's easy to see in the manual when you build it. So these are the pieces I was just talking about, and one of them has a little line, which you can kind of see here, and that represents the outside part of the leg. Just pay attention to the directions of those. built the first Knight of Gold, the shoulder parts had a really tight fit, so when I put it on, one of them ended up cracking. So what I'm doing here is just widening the hole a little bit so it's not such a tight fit, with the hopes that it won't crack this time. One good thing about this version of the Knight of Gold is it has the shorter stabilizers that go on the back, so I don't have to worry about modifying it this time to fit in my shelf. There are, however, some little holes that are going to need to be filled with putty. back section comes in 2 halves, which means there's a seam all the way around the entire thing. For the sword hands, the knuckle part is supposed to fit into the main hand part, whatever you want to call it, with just pressure, but it's not really thick enough, so I'm going to add a little bit of plastic, very thin sheet, to thicken it up a little so that it stays in place. This is something that I had to do with the original kit as well. It just wasn't thick enough to stay in place. Even though I'm using a really thin plastic sheet, it's still a little too thick, so I gotta sand it a little bit just to get it slightly thinner. So it's a nice tight fit, but not too tight. So there we have it. This is the frame all built up. Everything sanded, ready for paint. And the full kit, all parts ready to go for paint, which is going to be the next video. So thanks for watching. If you made it to the end, please be sure to like and subscribe if you like this type of video. And come back for the second part, which will be painting in various golds and copper colors.